Well, you got one of those fancy
right
ones.
Big one on there. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Budgy Smugglers. I am with the main man of Castlemaine, Daddy Cool himself, Jeremy Dooley.
Hello, Stephen Bradshaw. How are we?
That's right. I'm the 2024 Geelong Comedian of the Year, Stephen Bradshaw. How you feeling today, Dools?
Look, I feel good.
Feel good?
What is sleep? Sleep is...
It's a construct made up by, I don't know, the Romans, I think.
Yeah, it's. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night and the last few nights. Baby stuff, you know. But
yeah.
I'm feeling good. How's your week been? What's happening?
Has my week's been good. What did I get up to? It feels like forever ago. Obviously, it's a big week this week with the Melbourne International Comedy Festival kicking off tomorrow, Wednesday for me. Friday for you?
Friday for me, yep.
Yeah, so last week was a bit of a lead-in, the last Goffs, and for the Comedy Festival, the Wednesday night show, which is good, great turnouts, a lot of good acts. Good to see people like Alessio Carducci's back in town for the Comedy Festival. So that was a bit of fun. Friday night, it was the last ever Friday night at the Brewery, Geelong.
Huge.
My stomping grounds there, your stomping grounds, everyone's favourite stomping grounds. That was a monster show, packed house, raucous Geelong crowd. One of those great nights where pretty much everyone did great. It was a really good show. And then Sunday, of course, last night, I was with you in Castlemaine for the Castlemaine Fringe, which was a really fun show.
It was good.
Yeah.
Tell us, before we chat about that, you had your lady friend at the Geelong gig.
I did.
We had a bit of a conversation on the pod about doing material about said person.
Yes.
How did it go? Give us the rundown.
I did some material.
Yeah.
So the process was, because of course she was pretty adamant about me not talking about her on stage at first. And then she quickly came to realize that it's just an inevitability. So just had a chat in the car. All right, I'm going to tell you my jokes. And she loved them. She thought they were really funny. She said, fine, do it. I don't care. I tell you who doesn't love them. Audiences does. Audiences don't see. That was the only thing I didn't really think about was what the audience would think. I think on Friday night, Z started off hot, on fire, went into that stuff. Forgot to make the jokes funny was one of is what happened. Got a few chuckles, but it wasn't really hitting. It's not hitting on all cylinders yet, but yeah, she's going to get pretty sick of those jokes pretty quickly.
Oh, I love that. That's so good.
Yeah. Bit of a dad. And you?
Yeah.
Week lead into MICF. It's big. I think it feels like things are getting, oh shit, it's this week.
Pretty much, yeah. Where was I in the last week? I was in Adelaide, played at the Rhino Room, which was awesome. That was a hot show. 160 odd people jammed in there, which was very cool. Really, like, that's the place you want to play if you're in Adelaide. Obviously, Fringe is on. I think it's just finished there. And Adelaide in Fringe is unreal. It is so good. And Rhino Room is the place for comedy. I think it's the only dedicated comedy venue in Adelaide that's running at the moment. I think they've had a few shutdowns, but it was great. Audience was great. Was up there with Jared Goundry, and just a hot show, really hot show. Great people, had good chats with audience members afterwards. So that was great. Then the next night I was in Newcastle, doing a corporate, and that was good. Had a great burger in Newcastle.
Okay, yeah.
I like going to Newcastle because they got a really good burger place called Rascals, and just, I'm not being paid to say this, but if you're in Newcastle, go to Rascals. It's great. You get a burger, you get some potato gems and a...
Tell them Dool sent you. What burger did you get?
I got a double bacon barbecue cheeseburger.
Ooh.
With a side of buffalo and blue cheese potato gems.
There's a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on there.
I love
and
that.
A can of creamy soda.
Yeah, very good.
There's a lot going on there.
What is your soft drink of choice? Is it creamy soda?
I like a vanilla Coke. If it's in a
Really?
can, I like a vanilla Coke. Creamy soda is good. Can of Coke is good, but sometimes you get a dud can of Coke. I can't describe it, but sometimes you get a can of Coke. It's like, this is perfect, and then sometimes But vanilla Coke always good. Sometimes Pepsi Max. I can go with Pepsi Max. Creamy soda is good. I'm not into Sprite. I think Sprite's like a dud lemonade.
Really?
The Schweppes lemonade. That's where it's at.
I'll agree with that.
Schweppes is better.
Choose Schweppes over Sprite every time.
But the GOAT soft drink is Portello.
Bang. I was just about to say, anytime I'm in one of these country towns, whether I'm gigging or traveling through, I have to get a Portello. There's something about a small town with a single street and you're at the bakery that sells Australia's best vanilla slice, 1996. It's like, load me up on Portello.
It's the best. It's the best. So there's two brands that do it really well. There's Kirk's Portello. That's good. You can get that at, most major supermarkets, and Torquay Portello, also really good. Bundaberg do one where it's like, it's not called Portello, but it's like grape soda or something. If you got no other option, that's your go-to. But otherwise, Kirk's and Torquay Portello is where it's at.
Kirk's is the one with the windmill on the... Is that right?
No, I think that's Torquay. Kirk's is...
Torquay. So I'm a Torquay guy.
Magenta-y, pinky sort of like label, and yeah, both good.
Pasito?
Yeah, look, you can.
Pasiana?
Yeah. Yep. I'm not adverse to that. I'm not really into a Fanta.
No, fair enough.
Or did you ever have a what are they called? Miranda?
Yep, I remember Miranda. Yep. Miranda. Yeah.
Yep. And then there was Mellow Yellow or Yellow Mellow.
Mellow Yellow, yeah.
Yep.
I remember that. That didn't last long.
No.
One of my, I'd say top three. If I see it, I buy it. Dr. Pepper.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
love
a
Dr.
bold.
Pepper. Yeah. I know that's very divisive.
Yeah, not into Dr. Pepper. It's very, it's one of those drinks that I want to get into, and then I try it and I remember why I'm not into it.
People do hate it. You know what I haven't had in a while that it's been on my mind recently because I don't do much other than this and jokes. Mountain Dew. I was a big Mountain Dew guy back in the day. I think I'm ready to give it another go.
Yeah, I don't.
To do the do?
Do they have it in cans? Or there's a bottle? Okay, cool. Yeah, not for a long time. I mean, in my mind, the visual of it, because I always pronounce it Mountain Dew, and that's very different mental imagery.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't mind. My one thing is, before I get on stage, I won't have a soft drink though. Like I've made the error of doing that too close before walking on stage, like in the green room. Not necessarily like jitters or anything like that, but the burps. So you got to deal with the gas on stage. So you're like mid-bit, and then you have to, give it a bit of that action. That's not good. No one's paying money to watch me have indigestion on stage.
Yeah, that's not a good value for money. We've spoken about this before, not on the pod, but like, maybe when you started, I know you don't drink now before gigs. Did you ever back in the day?
Not really. I had a good
beer,
chat. Yeah, I had a good chat with an Uber driver in the last few days on the way to the airport, and he could not believe that I don't drink before getting on stage. I know a lot of comedians can't get on stage without having a shot or something like that beforehand. Never been a thing for me. I think I had a beer once and just was on stage and I just felt a bit sluggish.
Yep.
And then I have been at gigs back when I was, like a fairly solid drinker. I was at a gig and I was just there watching, and I was probably 3 or 4 beers deep, and the promoter ran out and just is like, "Hey, someone's running late. Can you step up?" And I had a stinker of a set. Oof, that was a rough set. It's like, can you do 15 minutes? Just like wasn't in the headspace, had been drinking, wasn't dressed appropriately for comedy. It was middle of summer. I was in a singlet and shorts, I think, and thongs, and that's not what I wear when I'm on stage. So that wasn't a thing. But, some comedians will take the drink on stage. That's a thing. Yeah, what about yourself?
It depends on the gig. I went through phases when I first started that I couldn't get on. my first gig, which went pretty well. I didn't drink, but then after that, just the nerves and whatnot, I'd have a beer, and then I went off it cold for a while, and now I'm in a spot where depends on the vibe. Like if I'm in Geelong, I'll definitely have a beer. If I'm on home turf at Goss, I'll probably have one, but most times not. Yeah, pretty much most times not.
Occasionally, I'll have a beer or a drink afterwards.
Yep.
Very rarely, though.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely. So
I very rarely don't have a beer afterwards.
Yeah. It's so we did Castlemaine last night for the Castlemaine Fringe. It was a great show.
Yeah,
it was
awesome.
A really, really good show. Definitely it's the first time I've ran the show since Baby has been on the loose. Since, he's out in the wild, and it's a very different experience doing like a 10, 15 minute set to doing 45 minutes on not a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
It was wild, but they were a great audience, super, super hot audience.
Lovely audience.
Yeah, really friendly. Like loved having chats afterwards, which is always good.
You got some notes? I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, look, it's a rare thing. An audience member will say, "I've got a bit for you. I've got something you can, you throw into one of your skits there." And I would say 99 out of 100 times you want to stab yourself in the eardrums afterwards. Last night, had a great note, and I was like, "That's not a bad idea." I might play with that during, maybe not during the comedy festival, but probably, if it's a hot audience, I might throw it in there just to add a little top up.
My history of notes, I've never had a good one. The only one that gave me a note, it wasn't for me, it was for a different comedian, Max Flett, and he talked about his opening bit was about being bisexual, and then he had a big bit about going to the optometrist. And then this guy comes up drunk after the show. Max had already left. He goes, "You know that guy with the long hair? What if he's at the optometrist and he gets bifocals?" And I laughed. I was like, that's actually pretty good.
That is pretty funny.
But no, I've never had, every note I've ever got from an audience member has been terrible.
Yep. It certainly happens. Once my partner gave me a note, and to be fair, I was like, that's pretty good, because she's not a comedian. Obviously has seen me perform, hundreds of times now, lived with another comedian, Gabe Hogan. Hello, Gabe. So has been around comedy and comedians. She's a performer as well. And she's like, "Hey, have you thought about this as a line?" And I was like, that's actually pretty good. Again, audiences didn't think so. I thought it was legitimately a good bit, but didn't think so. The audiences, who is the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. Last night, driving back from Castlemaine, we had a little brief conversation about what's your go-to after a bomb. Like, because everyone bombs in comedy. Like, some people, they've got a routine of what they like to do. Some people, it's like food, etc. What does Stephen Bradshaw do after a bomb?
It's never happened to me, Dool, so I wouldn't be. No. So definitely a beer is the first thing. Straight to the bar, grab a beer, drink that, and then, I would say, and I thought about it after the chat, definitely Hungry Jack's or sometimes a Ripper box from Red Rooster.
Right. What's give us your order. What's your Hungry Jack's order? I'm not a big Hungry Jack's guy.
So
I couldn't tell you what's on their menu other than Whopper, and that's not that I've eaten one. I just know because it's in the zeitgeist.
A Whopper Hunger Tamers. So it's a Whopper, a barbecue cheeseburger, 3 chicken nuggets, drink, chips.
Wow.
Yeah. And you just go home and you kind of, it gets, because what happens with the Whopper after a bomb is that there's like, it gets extra salty with all the tears dripping on top of it while I'm just crying about how terrible I am at comedy.
Yeah.
And yours?
I'll go through... Macca's drive-through, and I'll go it kind of depends, because sometimes, especially if I'm on later, I haven't eaten for quite some time as well. So sometimes it's like I just need food. But generally it'll be a large quarter pounder meal, no pickle, and I'll add in maybe like an extra chicken and cheese, or a fillet of fish with extra cheese.
Love it.
That's my go-to.
We did Macca's last night on the way through. I got my regular order.
Your order was a vibe.
I didn't understand it, so I want to get you. We didn't really talk about it. So my order always is a large Big Mac meal, water for the drink, and a quarter pounder.
Run us through the water for the drink part of it.
It's just guilt. It's just 100% guilt. I'm like, this is terrible what you're doing to your body. Don't make it worse with like a Coke. Sometimes a Coke Zero, but it was 11:30 by the time we had dinner, and I thought caffeine that time of night, it's not going to do me any favors. But it's mostly guilt. So it's not too bad. You're getting the water.
It was,
and I never drink the water. It's still in my cup.
Yeah. I was when you threw that order out there, I was like, whoa, that's a strong order. That's 2 big, heavy, dense burgers plus a large chippies.
Like I said, it was 11:30. I hadn't eaten. I think all I'd had all day was a couple of bits of toast and a protein shake, and it was 11:30.
Yep.
So I was starving.
It was an eye opener in the car ordering that in drive-through. That is for sure.
Anything else this week you've done?
No, it's Newcastle and then Castlemaine last night.
Gigs and babies, huh?
Pretty much. That's it.
Me and little Tommy Stanamaros, we went and did some flyering, just letterbox drops, which is always fun. And we kind of set aside, 2 to 4 hours to get through, just like I think we had 500 things just for directly around the area from Goffs. But we walked into some high-rise buildings, did the skip, just like waited for an Uber Eats driver, came in, bang, 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 knocked the whole thing out in 45 minutes, which was a big win. And so we went to the pub, obviously. There's nothing else to do.
You finished?
And we played darts at the Sporting Globe. Have you ever played the electronic darts there?
Electronic darts? I don't even understand how that would work.
Neither did
we.
Do
you hold...
No, so regular dartboard, regular darts, but they have projections on there. And so it tallies all the throws for you. There's a little magnetic thing on the dart, so it reads where it lands. And then they've got all these different games like Robin Hood, where it's more like archery type of game. You got these knockout games. Very, very, very fun. You a darts man?
I mean, I've never gone to the pub to play darts, but if a friend's got a dart board, and it's on offer, sure.
So anyway, the moral of the story is we played 12 games. I won 11 of them. I just wanted to drop that in the sporting podcast that we host. Yeah. So it was pretty, he took it well. He's not the best athlete, but fucking smashed him.
Yeah. Tom Stanamero strikes me as, not a great athlete, probably good at like a spelling bee or something like that.
Can't spell for shit, he's dyslexic.
There you go. I was way off.
Yeah. I think like he'd be great, and I can see this for him maybe 20 to 30 years from now. These are so niche, these references. But like he'd be great at setting up one of those choo-choo train sets in his garage with like all the, I think that's kind of his... expertise.
Yeah, I could see him doing that and like painting all the characters and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. That's more like it. Cool. We'll cut that bit from the pod. Should we get started with some comments? Did you see any good comments come through in the last week?
I had someone comment. I should have written down who it was on the TikTok. Referencing, because I had a bit to say about the Socceroos squad.
Yes.
There's a few players who I thought should have been in there. And another player that I missed that was brought to my attention in the TikTok comments was Max Ballard, who is bossing it in the Netherlands. I think they call him Down Under Kante or something, or Aussie N'Golo Kante or something like that. Defensive mid,
Down
central
under
mid.
Kante.
Yeah.
That's sick. That's the best Aussie nickname.
It's a good nickname. He's been bossing it. Should have been probably starting, but, I can see why they went with Aidan O'Neill, the Socceroos. But, Maxi Ballard's been tearing it up in a very, very strong league.
Love that. A couple other ones. The top 5 athletes turned musicians. Everyone's best friend, Jonathan5291, mentioned Roy Jones Jr., who did come up in my research, and it did give me some memories. He's a couple of hip-hop albums.
Did not know that.
Yeah, him and Oscar De La Hoya is quite the singer, sort of mariachi serenader type style.
I know Pac-Man Manny Pacquiao does a little bit of singing sometimes.
Yeah, I feel
but
like that's
more
recorded
karaoke
yeah.
sort of vibe. Is aggressively Filipino. So
Yeah. I love
probably
that. I love that.
There was an athlete who I missed, James Keogh. James Keogh was a defender for Coburg in the VFL and had offers to, he was going to get drafted into the AFL, decided to pursue a music career, goes by the name Vance Joy.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Jimmy Keogh, very good defender as well.
Really?
Very good player. Played a lot of games at Coburg when they were aligned with Richmond.
Yep.
So it was always hard for a Coburg listed player to get games. You had to be legitimately very, very good. Played a lot of games, was going to get drafted, decided, you know what, I'm going to pursue music.
How the fuck did I not have Pete Murray on the list? And why did it just come to me now?
Yeah, Pete Murray, he played Union or something.
Some rugby of some description, legal union. Yeah.
I once played footy against, do you remember Blair from Big Brother?
Nope.
Yep, played footy against him once. I think he was playing for Collegians in the VAFA, the VAFA, and he's not a musician, but he's a person.
I like it. We could do a top 5 B grade celebrities. Athletes turn B grade celebrities. Because you got like Fitzy. I mean, he's kind of a B, but he's maybe even A grade.
Fitzy had a very promising AFL career. I think he hit 5 goals on debut, but just his knees were made of chalk.
Yeah. Yep.
Not good.
There's a ton of those. Also, you got in other comments, you got fact checked again for your comments on Jordan Mailata singing in front of 30,000 fans.
Million plus, allegedly.
A million plus at the rally.
All right,
so,
Trump.
Yeah.
The size of the rally just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Who knows how many people were there? All of Philadelphia could have been at this rally. Who knows? But we do know we love Big JM a lot.
Yes, we do love JM a lot. Do you want to get into some weekly sports? What's been happening for the Aussies around the globe?
Tell you what, the boy from Bendigo, Dyson Daniels, is just racking up the steals. He's got more steals than any other player in the last 15 years. Still got a bunch of games to go, and he's missed quite a few games as well, and he's miles ahead of second place.
I think he was averaging 3 a game. Second is 1.8.
Yeah, he's been getting 5 steals a game, 6 sevens. It's unusual if he gets less than 3.
Yep.
Is he the defensive player of the year?
Yes, you don't even have to finish. He has to be. I've heard a few people mention this. I don't think you can go past him. I think obviously they're talking about Jarrett Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, which I get. But the hardest defensive position is the perimeter defender. And he's doing it better than anyone's done in quite a while. And just when there's that level, like 15 years, no one's done better. And again, that'll probably keep growing because he was up to 194 steals. He's had a ton of steals since then. There's still 10, 11 games to go. I just checking the scores before we started recording. He's already got 2 steals. It was only in the second quarter. To me, Dyson Daniels should 1,000% be Defensive Player of the Year, but I don't think he will be because it's voted by American media and they suck.
He, according to Sportsbet, is the 3rd favourite. So he's at $13, which is pretty good value. Ahead of him, so the favourite, according to Sportsbet, is Evan Mobley, and then you've got Draymond Green. Really?
Second? Draymond?
Then you got Dyson Daniels. Then you got Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., and then you've got Lou Dort. It's a good name. I like saying Lou Dort.
It's 2 syllables, 2 names, 2 syllables. I like that as well. But there's no way he should be behind Draymond Green.
No way. Surely that's based on reputation versus actual output. And I'd probably say the same about Evan Mobley. Like, I think his reputation is better than where he's actually at.
It's like a lot of these awards, it's based on what have you done for a couple of years to get into it. Dyson has kind of come from nowhere with this Great Barrier Reef run.
I will say, not Australian, but surely, Nikola Jokic isn't the favourite to win regular season MVP. Gilgeous Alexander is. Gilgis Alexander, Shy, who knows how to say his name. SGA is the favourite.
Yep.
But Nikola is top 3 in all of the major statistical categories, and he's the man.
It's tough, but
I think they're tired of voting for him.
that's what it is. It's voter fatigue. Also, SGA, I mean, the best player on the best team is always a good argument. Where the Denver Nuggets, they might have worked their way back up to second in the standings. It's hard to go past Nikola Jokic, but if you look at the advanced metrics, all that kind of stuff, it's pretty close. And then you add in Jokic's 3, SGA, their team has just been the best of the year, and it all runs through him. I think obviously Jokic has had that 30-20-20, but SGA, he leads the league in scoring. He's had those big 40-plus, 50-plus games, which kind of help, I think, with the narrative. So I do think he's a worthy winner. You
take SGA out of the Thunder, they're still competitive. You take the Joker out of Denver, they are terrible.
It's a great point.
Just saying.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think he's got 3. 3's pretty good. It's like the 2010 to 2020. How could LeBron James not win 10 in a row? Like, he given Russell Westbrook ones and Harden, where LeBron was clearly the best player, the same way Nikola Jokic is now, even though Nikola Jokic is somehow better than he has been the last 3 MVP seasons.
Exactly.
And probably could have won 4, but it was Joel Embiid's turn, which was a great season. But again, that was voter fatigue.
Yep.
But yeah, they're not Aussies, but it's a very good point.
Yeah. What about
So you'd be voting for Jokic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd be going SGA.
No. Speaking of Aussies, speaking of Box Hill, Ben Simmons reckons he's going to be part of the Olympic squad in 2028. Quote, if I'm healthy and good to go, then I'll definitely be there. Here's the thing, Ben Simmons. You're probably not going to get picked on current form if you are healthy. Like, if that's what your output is, you're not getting picked.
Yeah. I mean, sorry.
Like, you need Philadelphia Ben Simmons to get into the Boomers squad. Current Ben Simmons, and I'm a Ben Simmons fan. I'm a big believer. He's that ex that you just hope is changed, and they never do, and they keep breaking your heart. You know, he's got all the ability in the world, but right now he's not in the Boomers squad.
If I'm healthy and good to go, neither of which will be possible. I don't see happening in 4 years' time.
No.
Then I'll definitely be there. I don't know, Dools. I hope he is. I hope there's a renaissance coming for him, because he's got all the talent in the world. But yeah, I just saw that and I was like, I don't think that's going to happen.
No. I mean, you think about the players in the Boomers squad, you think about the players that are developing and coming up now. Like, I mean, you look at a year ago, Dyson Daniels was like a good Boomers player. Now he's going to be probably the focal point of the team with the way he's playing at both sides of the court, country and Western.
We'll get into the Josh Giddey stat of the week in a bit as well.
Yeah. I mean, what a backcourt. And so that takes away Ben Simmons because he wants to be a point guard. So it's like, well, where does he go then?
We are going to be without Patty Mills. We are going to be without Joe Ingles. We are going to be without
Daly,
who we'll get to in a bit. Jock might be past it in 3 years' time.
The Strap. I mean, the Strap's been putting some good minutes off the bench in Houston when he gets a chance. You know, you've got him. You've got
Reefy.
Oh yeah, the Great Barrier Reef. You got to have both of the Great Barriers in there. You can't just have one and leave one there. You know, Thybulle's come back from injury and he's like game-saving blocks.
Kyrie.
Yeah, Kyrie. You know, he'll be back from injury and he's still better.
Daniels, 3 years from now, he could be
Dyson
something.
and Dash.
Yeah.
You'd want that.
Yeah.
That's a vibe.
Well, there's a lot of basketball. It's been a big week in Aussie basketball. Speaking of the GOAT Boomers, Patty Mills Paddy Mills finally got some game time for the Clippers a few days ago. He was in there for 7 minutes and scored 5 points. Now, all you have to do is times that 7 minutes by the NBA average of, say, 36 minutes. If Paddy Mills was just playing league average minutes, he would be averaging 25 points a game, Dools.
Free Paddy.
Free Paddy. I don't know what that. I mean, I get it. He's old and he's like 36.
It's a conspiracy.
But well, if you just pay, that's just simple math. If you played him the 36 minutes, he'd score you 25 points, and you don't have a point guard. You got James Harden. You know. Thoughts on this?
Firstly, he's fit. He's willing, he's able, he's never been a good defender, he's a scorer. Just let him go to work. Let him cook.
Let him
cook. And, you know, you might then inspire Box Hill Benny, seeing another Aussie just like tear it up and be like, oh, you know, I need to take off my turtleneck and do some work as well. Like Paddy Mills is money. He's a microwave.
Yes.
You get him on there, you press the button, he heats up. Always very reliable.
I like it.
Did you see the speaking of Aussie microwaves? Everyone's favorite Aussie, and I think that, you know, I'd say everyone's favorite Aussie is a coin toss between Paddy Mills and Joe Ingles. He had his first start, Stevie B.
He sure did. I don't know if you
Wolf
saw the news. So this was really heartwarming. I loved what the Wolves did here. His son, who's autistic, and Joe Ingles and his wife Renee have been huge advocates for this over in the US and here as well. Big news for them. Their son, just due to sensory overload, has never been able to sit through a whole game. And last Sunday, he finally did. He sat through a whole game, Wolves versus Jazz, I think it was. And the only issue is Joe didn't get a single minute. So to make it up, coach starts him. His son was in the arena. It was very heartwarming. I mean, he only played a few minutes or whatever, but it was big news. I loved it. Joe gets on the court, which was I thought was really heartwarming and lovely thing the Grizz did.
I think it shows that every now and then it's not just about winning.
Exactly.
I mean, it is always about winning, but every now and then it's not about winning, but it still is about winning. The Pelicans are coming to Australia. I don't mean, you know, Storm Boy, Mr. Percival Pelicans. They're already here. The NBA team, the Pelicans. I don't know about you, man, but that is underwhelming.
So underwhelming.
That's just like, all right, we're trying to build the game. Let's send North Melbourne to America, the football club. It's like, well, that's not going to inspire anyone.
100%. I'm glad the NBA's coming. I mean, there is some Zion involved. He's not going to play. He's going to play a preseason game in Australia. He's going to get here.
Eat a HSP.
Yeah, exactly.
He would
a minute.
Dominate a halal snack pack.
Inhale a HSP.
I would love to. That is more entertaining than the game, like watching the Pelicans play.
Yeah, see how many HSPs he could knock out in 4 quarters. I think he'll be down at South Melbourne smashing Dim Sims.
If you got him, like, okay, so an eating challenge, Zion Williamson, when the Pelicans are here in October, which Australian from any code would you like to see him go up against in an eating challenge?
Him in an eating challenge? I'd like to see him and Shane Mumford at Bunnings on a Saturday morning, sausage sizzle off. Just who can eat the most sausages at Bunnings. Shane Mumford apparently ate like 11 sausages before an AFL game once and dominated.
I'd like to see Ivan Soldo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think Big Iv would give Zion a good run for his money. Big Iv, he's a big boy, and he can put food away. I think Ivan Soldo, the Port Adelaide ruckman, versus Zion Williamson, and then make it interesting. Make it like a sports challenge as well. So you'd have you'd have the eating element. So they eat a HSP, then they have to play a game of 1-on-1, like first to 11.
Yep.
All right. Then they have to eat something else, maybe like a triple stack Parma or something like that.
Yep, I like that.
And then they have like a goal kicking competition. And then they end on like a dessert sort of thing.
Vanilla slice.
Yeah, like a tray of vanilla slice.
Yeah.
That would be good. And then they have to like run a lap of an oval and just see what happens, or run some suicides on the basketball court in front of an audience. That would be fireworks. That would be much more interesting than the Pallies playing basketball.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's a Pally out of every team. Couldn't give us someone with an Aussie? Couldn't send the Mavs or the Clippers or someone?
Or the Rockets.
Rockets got Aussies galore.
2 Aussies and a Kiwi. Who are the Pelicans playing?
Melbourne United and Melbourne, the other Melbourne team.
Southeast Melbourne Magic. Phoenix,
that's it. The green ones. The grey ones, yeah.
There you go. Speaking of NBL, the Illawarra Hawks got it done. Damon Lowry, eat your heart out. Glenn Saville, eat your heart out.
Some good callbacks there.
Whoa.
First in 24 years. Take me back to the 90s. The Illawarra Hawk, they strike me as someone that they were a player, but never quite, because just Tigers were so dominant in the 90s.
They had some really good players. Damon Lowry. There was this famous like free throws to clinch. They had Glenn Saville. They had some really good players. They've flipped between Illawarra and then calling themselves Wollongong Hawks for a little bit of flippy. But always had good jerseys. The red always looks good there. The region gets around them. They're a hot ticket in the Illawarra region. And
is it the only ticket in Illawarra?
Yeah, they used to have a rugby league team, I think, the Steelers.
Okay.
I think. Not anymore.
Okay, yep.
So, the Illawarra Hawks, get around them. They have always been entertaining, always been all right. Of course, LaMelo Ball, played there. So they're responsible for him. But yeah, they got it done. And it was a back and forth series. They got it done in 5 games.
Thought Melbourne had it at home last Wednesday. Thought it was game over. I actually got offered tickets, but I had a gig, sadly, and I was pumped to go watch them win. And then, it all just kind of fell away.
And now there was a huge moment after the game with Delhi and the MVP. Give us your thoughts.
Well, if you're not familiar, Delhi was given the MVP award for most valuable player in a losing effort, which how does that
It's rare.
It's rare.
It's rare. I think I don't think it's impossible. I think though, if you are in the losing team and you get MVP, you've got to be clearly MVP. You've got to be the dominant player the whole way, but just the other team was better.
Exactly, like LeBron the year that Iguodala won it.
Yeah, and Gary Ablett Sr. kicked 9 goals for Geelong in a losing grand final in 1989 and got the Brownlow. Maurice Rioli got the Norm Smith. Maurice Rioli got that in 1982 for Richmond against Carlton in a losing team. He was clearly best on ground. It can happen.
Nathan Buckley got it in 2002, I think. But they were voting 5 minutes before the game ended.
Yep.
And then Fossey basically won it off his own boot. So very, very rare. So Delhi's given it. It's in Illawarra. Boos are raining down. It's just brutal, which you could totally imagine. And then Delhi apologizes and then in the end says thank you, but this award deserves to go to Will Hickey, who had a blinder of a game, had a great series, and then Daly, being the great man that he is, walks off stage and gives Will Hickey the MVP, which I thought was a very classy. It's been a very classy week for the Aussies in basketball. Very, very Australian, I think, to do that. He gets our Budgy Smuggler of the Week, which is an award I just made up.
Yep, I'm happy for that. Delhi, the only way it could have been better is if he also gave him a hickey. That just really top it off there. Uzi Khawaja's been in the news. I don't know what happened, but I know he's been in the news. I've seen him. I'm aware that he's been in the news, and because he was at the Grand Prix or something and people are going nuts because he missed a game or some shit.
This isn't in there, but we might get back to this in a bit because that's been happening a bit this week with other players. But Usman Khawaja pulled out of the Queensland State game of cricket and due to a hamstring injury, which was reported, everyone knew, and then some reporters asked the Queensland coach if he knows why Usman isn't playing and why he was at the F1, and the coach said, I have no idea why he's not playing. He should be here. Uzi takes to the media. He's great in the media. He's the best of any of the Aussies, and just basically lit him up in front of the entire country. Said, I spoke to the Queensland physios, the Aussie physios. They all said I couldn't play. They all gave him clearance to go to the F1 because he did go to F1. I think that's what threw it off. And then he went on a big tirade because the coach said, something about making sacrifices for the team or whatever. And then he talked about how during the cyclone, he didn't want to leave his wife at home, but he still travelled with the team. So he does make sacrifices. It was very emotional, big play. But I guess what this leads me to is, Dools, what's the best ever time you've been caught out faking a sickie?
Ooh, I definitely called in sick for work and said I had gastro. And then by chance, the gig I was at that night, my team member happened to be in the audience. They took a photo of me on stage, and they didn't send it to my boss, thankfully, but they did send it to me afterwards. Like, I see you've recovered from gastro. ... Whoops. What about yourself?
I don't think I have a good catch out one. I think the worst one is when you go out with the work peeps. You get on it, you have a big one, and then you don't turn up to work the next day. And then word gets around. But, most of the jobs I've had, they've been pretty good with that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Speaking of good, everyone loves Head. Travis Head smashed King Joffrey Archer. 23 runs in 1 over. That is an absolute belting. He's not playing like Michael Bevan there and just doing some, tap, 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 quick singles just to tick the scoreboard over there. 67 runs off 31.
This Joffrey guy, apparently it was the most expensive stint in the history of IPL cricket. It was something like 73 runs off 4 overs for 0 wickets. I think, are you a big Joffrey Archer guy?
No.
If you had to guess, not knowing, what country do you think he was from, based on how shitty it is at cricket, not off his name?
England?
He's from England. Yeah. Just another proof.
If it was of his name, I would have said South Africa.
Yes.
Joffre. It's Joffre.
That sounds very
South Africa. Joffre.
But just another nail in the coffin for English at sport. They fucking suck.
Speaking of suck, the Socceroos did not suck. They beat Indonesia 5-1.
You teed them up last week too, Dools. You really laid into them. And, I mean, at the end of the day, it was Indonesia, so who cares? And
look, the score absolutely flattered the Socceroos because the Indonesians were all over the Socceroos. But from start to finish, they had a shot that Matty Ryan just managed to get his fingertips on to save it. Otherwise, that was going in top corner. They had a penalty that hit the woodwork. And then the Socceroos scored 2 quick goals after that. Nishan Velupale on transition and Martin Boyle from the spot. But if Indonesia got one of those 2 goals early, it becomes a very different game. They sit back. They park the bus. The Socceroos, that scoreboard absolutely flattered them against Indonesia, who are very, very slick. So the thing with Indonesia, most of their players are not from Indonesia.
Oh, they just live in Bali for the...
Well, it's like their grandparents might have been there or something like that. So most of them, I think, are playing in the Dutch leagues.
Okay.
So a lot of Dutch.
Legit.
They're legit. Very good team. So, yeah, I think the Socceroos did well to get out there and to do that, and still didn't keep a clean sheet. The defensive line of the Socceroos looked very, very shaky. And now they've lost a couple of players, and they've brought in Mitchell Duke for the game against China on Tuesday. It's just not a good squad. That's the thing. It's just not a good squad. Yes, they won, but also it's just not a good squad. And, they should have beaten Indonesia. They should have done well. They should have, and they did. But that's also an opportunity to play the right players, Popper. What are you doing, mate? What are you doing? We know you love a defensive team there, but come on, give us something.
How are they shaping it? How do you think they're going to go against China?
They should win against China. I think it'll be maybe like a 2-1 win. They haven't kept a clean sheet for a little while. So, all of their first choice defenders are injured. So, they should beat China. If they don't beat China, they're in big trouble and it's going to be hard to qualify.
All right, they'll do it. This next one I'm very excited about. Dools, my girl and your girl, your favourite athlete that you know a lot about, Molly Picklum.
Hey.
She picked up a third place in the Portugal WSL event overnight and holds on to a second place in the world rankings. We love our girl Molly Picklum. She hasn't won one yet. There's only been 3, but she's podiumed in each and every one. Model of consistency. Very, very good. Ethan Ewing also came third, moving up to third overall in the rankings. So a couple of our Olympians, a couple of good surfers just coming up in the ranks, trying to take our place back on top of the surfing world in Portugal. Hey, I fucking love Portugal.
Portugal's great.
You did gigs in Portugal.
Yeah,
right?
I've done gigs in Portugal and I've surfed in Portugal. It's surfing culture in Portugal is huge, and they've got, I think, the biggest consistent wave in Nazaré. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. And it's wild that up there. But yeah, played in Portugal, played at the Lisbon Comedy Club, and it was one of those moments where I was in Portugal for a wedding, and obviously, I'm going to work, and so did this gig, and all these people who were going to the wedding came along to the gig, who none of them I knew. It was my partner's friends, ex-boyfriend, one of them as well, and I was like, I need to do well at this gig because then I'm going to spend the next 5 or 6 days with these people, and murdered. I was like, I'm just bringing the heat to this gig, and just ripped them a new one. It was great. It was a hot crowd.
Love that. Whereabouts did you surf?
What's it called? I was down south. I can't remember. Near Lagos, down south of Portugal. It was great. The water, everyone probably goes there from this part of the world thinking, the water's going to be nice. Well, no, it's the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah. It is fucking cold. You need a thick wetsuit. But it was great. Really good.
I went to Nazaré myself because I'm obsessed with the big wave that they have there. Have you ever seen the movie 100 Feet?
No.
It's all about the discovery of the wave.
Okay,
the first person trying to
foot fetishes.
No, 100 feet. Yeah, I love it. It's 50 people, 100 feet. They spend a minute on each foot. It's hot stuff. But no, yeah, about the chase, and I just loved it, and I got obsessed with it. And they have a big wave surfing. The season runs from November to March or something crazy, and they just have an event where just people all over the world are waiting for a big wave to come through. Check that out. This was good. Tools. Jess Hull and Kai Rosen picked up bronze medals at the World Indoor Athletics Championships in the 3,000 meters. And listen to this, Tools. A surprise silver for Lachlan Kennedy in a red-hot 60-meter sprint final. Tools, did you know that there was a World Indoor Championships with a 60-meter sprint final?
What? That's not a... that's not a thing, the 60-meter sprints. If it's not in the Olympics, it doesn't matter in athletics.
Why do they have it? Since when have they had a 60-meter sprint? Yeah.
Let's just do all of the things there. Let's bring a potato sack race, or the one where you tie your legs together. Get Jess Hull and Kai Robertson, tie their legs together, see how that goes, and then Lockie Kennedy have a go at the 60-meter egg and spoon race.
What's the one where you leapfrog over? You just keep leapfrogging, leapfrog
Is
relay.
that called leapfrog?
It could be.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
Play some tunnel ball.
Yeah, British Bulldog.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
That would be good.
But you can't just fucking make up events for world championships and expect people to be impressed. It's
no one knows that the 60-meter sprint is a thing.
They in the news they reported it as a surprise silver for Lachlan Kennedy.
I think the biggest surprise is the event.
The event fucking existed. A red hot 60-meter. You'd want to be pretty red hot. You're only running half the fucking distance you're supposed to.
That is. Yeah, I'm not into that. Not into that at all.
That's never coming to the bloody Olympics. 60 meters. I couldn't believe it.
All right, let's talk footy.
Let's go.
Your boys.
We're back, baby. The Saints are back. We are so back. We beat Geelong, came out of nowhere. I was at a gig. Unfortunately, I was running the gig. I wasn't actually on the gig. I was producing the gig. and I was just sitting at our bar, Goffs, which you've been to many a time. I was sitting out the front of there and just watching the TV across the street at the pub, and then eventually made myself over to the pub to watch the game. And they were going off. They were just all over the place. Huge turnaround, but that was pretty. There was a lot of huge turnarounds. The old adage, a week's a long time in football, like your boys, the Richmond Tigers.
Oof. Richmond basically just played how everyone thought they would have played last week. Yeah. And that's the thing. They're a very, very young team. They brought in more young players. They're going to do that, and they're going to dish that up. Their first half was putrid. They were just witches' hats out there. And Port, they got a lot of jets. They got a lot of experienced bodies there, especially around the ball there in the midfield. And Richmond just couldn't handle it. Probably a little bit too top heavy at selection. They battled.
They did. And how did our boy Sam Layla go?
He did not do as well, but Harry Armstrong had a very good last quarter, big Harry there. And then they also brought in another guy, the tap, Liam Fawcett, and he kicked a goal on debut, which is always good, and hopefully the goals will flow.
Yeah, I'm sure they will in 2030. Did you see Sam Layla got a Bonds sponsorship?
I did, because his tackle came out. So let's
brilliant marketing. Whoever his manager is deserves a raise.
Let's get Lawler a sponsorship there. He becomes more like Dusty as it goes.
I love it.
Your boy, Big Oscar, Big O. Let's have it. Let's chat.
Go straight into that.
Let's go straight into that, because I know you've been waiting. I know you're pumped about it. You got home from the gig last night and you strapped yourself in.
Got home at midnight to watch. I watched it all weekend. There was a sprint race where he came second. So a sprint race is about a third as long as a normal race. They do that on a Saturday. So he came second there. Was looking really, really good.
Hang on.
Okay, this will be good.
So they do 2 races then?
2 races. So the weekend consisted, it was a good weekend. There was practice on Friday. Mm-hmm. Then there was sprint qualifying on Friday as well, I think. So that's qualifying, where whoever gets the fastest lap, that determines the grid order. Then there was a sprint race on Saturday, which I watched at the brewery in Geelong, in which Lewis Hamilton won. Oscar came second, Verstappen third. But it goes for 19 laps instead of the 56. Why it exists? No fucking idea. No one knows. But
is it every event they do that?
Not every event. It's sporadic. I don't know why they do it, when they pick to do it, but they do that. And then you would think whoever wins the sprint race would start the Grand Prix the next day in first, because you've already won a race. No, they scrap that like it never happened. And then they do another qualifying, again to set the order. And like I said, Oscar, second in the sprint race, wins his first ever pole position. First time he's ever become pole. I did 2 laps in the third qualifying session. Both of them would have set him as pole. And then he goes out yesterday, dominates the race. Never looked in trouble, led from the front, from the start. Didn't get the best start, but was able to pull through and then kept going. They switched to a one-stop strategy mid-race, so they made a call there, which means they only stopped once for tyres instead of twice, which most of the top enders did, and went on to win his first pole, his third race win. If it wasn't for that little spin late in the race in Melbourne, he would be winning the Drivers' Championship. He's currently in 4th, but he's only 10 points behind the leader, Lando Norris. Just ran amok this weekend, and it was the Oscar Piastri I was talking about before the season started, who will be top of our rankings. He'll win the World Championship. Lando Norris looked a bit shaky. He was a bit sooky. He wasn't very happy about being second, but Oscar just dominated the entire weekend. Very proud of our boy, Oscar Piastri. Any questions?
That was very comprehensive there. I'm not going to lie. I lost interest after about 30 seconds in that. I think you were still talking about the sprint thing, and I tuned out. I don't know what, but he won. That's good.
All right. In short, Oscar Piastri won and all.
And how did Doohan go? Is he doing well?
He's not doing well.
Ugh.
He's not doing well. He actually he finished 16th, but at the end of the race, 3 people. I woke up to this morning. Pierre Gasly, his teammate, and both the Ferraris, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, were disqualified for various reasons, mainly coming in underweight and something about tyres or some shit. So still up to 13th, which isn't a bad finish. That's about where he should be, sort of in that sort of 12 to 8 region would be great for him. But it was kind of very Stephen Bradbury-esque the way he got there, except Stephen Bradbury won a gold and he came 13th.
To the guys who came in underweight, is that a diet issue?
No, I don't think. You think that's they just need to beef up, or like bring some jerky with them or something. No, the cars finished underweight. I think they burnt through too much fuel, burnt too much rubber on the tires. I think yeah. So that was disappointing for them. But yeah, Jack Doohan,
not doing well.
He's not doing well. He could be doing worse. But yeah, he's got a couple of drivers breathing down his neck for that spot. Much like the next person, I want to start this by saying, you know how we claim people, so we claim Steven Adams.
Yep,
definitely Australian.
Yep.
I just want to make it very clear: Liam Lawson is definitely from New Zealand. He's so Kiwi. He's got the accent. He's 1000% not Australian. He could lose his seat as early as this week. After 2 races, F1, a brutal sport. He's qualified 20th out of 20, 2 races. Yesterday he came, I don't know after the disqualifications, but he's very low down the order. Max is very high up the order. And meanwhile, in their junior team, Yuki Tsunoda looks en fuego. But that's the big news. Liam Lawson, he's not going to make it to the Japan Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time.
Wow. I mean, what a fortuitous moment then for Yuki to get the Japanese Grand Prix.
How did I not think of that? Of course Yuki's going to be driving in the Red Bull, and the Japanese. Yep. I think, yeah, he's definitely Japanese with that name.
Sounds it.
Looks it.
All right, let's moving on. All right, what a time this is. This is our favourite part of the week. The random Giddey stat of the week.
It's my favourite time of the week. Lay it on us, Dool.
And it was a huge stat line. It was a huge stat line.
Absolute monster.
Nearly getting the quadruple double. He got 15 points, 10 rebounds, 17 assists.
Huge.
And 8 steals. The only player in the history of the NBA to ever have that stat line.
The only player, say that again, the only player in the history.
Only player in the history to get that stat line.
And Dools, I've put it upon myself. I've put together a list of players that haven't had this stat line. LeBron James never had that stat line. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird never had that stat line. Andrew Gaze never had that stat line. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, Jerry West, Kobe Bryant never had that stat line. Detlef Schrempf never had that stat line. Allen Iverson, Wilt Chamberlain never had that stat line. I've added
in a few players.
I like it.
Chris Anstey never had that stat line. Leonard Copeland never had that stat line. Mark Bradkey never had that
stat line.
Shane Heal never had that stat line.
Not once. Because you know why? Because of the random Giddey stat of the week. No one in the history of the NBA has ever had that stat line.
No one.
Not one person. Oh my goodness. That has quickly become my favorite segment, the random Josh Giddey stat of the week.
I still want to know what he puts in his hair. That's Josh, let us know. Send us a message. What do you put in your hair? Or Warwick Giddey, send us a message. Yeah. Let us know. What does Josh put in his hair? Because it's tremendous. There's been some great hair in Australian athletes. Colin Funky Miller, mainly for his hair dye. That was a thing. Obviously Josh has got great hair. Trent Cotchin, former Richmond captain, great hair.
Really?
Yeah, because it didn't move. And it just kind of, as his career got longer, his hair also got higher. It was quite fascinating to watch. Anyway.
So I'm just going to, I Googled it. What product does Josh Giddey use in his hair? And
people want to know.
Someone wrote the product is Muck. You know Muck? But I feel like the company Muck have just posted that on Reddit themselves.
Probably.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be associated with Josh Giddey.
All right.
Aussies of the week here.
It's a very basketball dominated. It's just been a big week in basketball.
It has been
we had the NBL finals. We're getting towards the NBA playoffs. So Aussie of the week, you really wanted to talk about.
We've mentioned him already here.
We spent pretty much half the episode talking about him.
The boy from Bendigo.
Yep.
The Great Barrier Thief, not Reef, Dyson Daniels. He is just the swipe lord. He is killing it defensively. Most steals in the NBA for 15 years. And the way he's going, that's going to become a bigger number by the end of the season as well. He's from Bendigo. He's one of the few players drafted straight out of the G League, drafted by the Pelicans, who, you know, if they'd kept him, that would be an interesting game to watch them when they're in Australia. But no, they traded him. Not a very good trade.
Picked him 8th overall. The trade... So I'm just going to read you out the trade because I wrote it down here. So the traded to the Hawks, New Orleans Pelicans, Daniels, E.J. Little, I've never heard of, Larry Nance Jr., who's a contributor, and Cody Zeller, who could take or leave. A first round draft pick via the Lakers this year. Lakers, that's probably going to be a pick in the 20s.
Yep.
Nothing. And a conditional 2027 first round pick for DeJounte Murray, who was injured about 5 games into the season for the whole year.
Very good at being injured.
So good at it.
DeJounte Murray. And Dyson Daniels, here's what the difference is. Gets minutes in Atlanta. Amazing what happens when you give an Aussie an opportunity and they will take it and do well there. And Dyson Daniels has done that. He's got a younger brother, Dash, who's looking likely he'll get drafted.
Like another top 10 pick
as well.
His other brother is playing for, just got a contract for Coburg. For Richmond VFL.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
What's his name? Destroyer.
Yeah.
Daniels.
I was trying to, it's something with a D for sure.
Yep. Daniels.
Daniels.
Yep. I went to school with a guy
Dan.
called Chris Christopher. So, that could be a thing. Daniels.
This is a true story, but this was Melton, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But a kid in my year 7, Karanjang High, hi to all those. James. First name James, middle name James, last name James.
But also clever from the parents, less things he has to spell.
Yeah, and that kid fucking needed it.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing as well is, his mum on draft night became a bit of an internet sensation, Dyson Daniels. So, if Dash gets drafted, then could be in for a little bit more then.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Love that.
Hello, Mrs. Daniels. Cool Daniels is her surname as well, officially. Anyway, everyone loves a list. Everyone loves our top 5 lists, from musicians to just top 5s Aussies of the week. But we got one this week. The top 5 Aussie athlete drug convictions.
Yes, this is inspired by Stewie McGill, his conviction last week. So gone through and found the top 5 Aussie athlete drug convictions. I love this. Number 5. This was a bit of recency bias. I want to get your thoughts on this one. This was the Tom Craig, who at last year's Paris Olympics, after the Socceroos got eliminated from the Olympics, got busted trying to buy cocaine from an undercover agent. Oh, that's a rough one, isn't it?
What are you doing?
You've been training for 4 years or whatever for this one moment.
2 first names. He's buying coke off someone on the street in Paris.
By a French person, no less. That's a tough beat. That's
a tough one. Sam Fisher.
This one hurts.
Yeah, he's one of your boys.
Number 4, Sam Fisher.
He was, trafficking and fishing for a commercial quantity of meth, coke, and grievous bodily harm there.
This was the best, not the best part, but it was actually quite
how
clever.
He did it. Yeah.
It was very good. Caught delivering drugs in the state via a kitchen range hood he bought from Harvey Norman. That's pretty. How would if you're going to smuggle drugs from WA to Victoria? How would you do it?
Not via anything to do with Harvey Norman. That's for sure. I'd go the good guys.
Yeah,
They wouldn't expect it then.
Exactly.
It's, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
That's what you'd do there.
But yeah, currently serving 5 years.
Yep. Olympic silver medalist cycler Jack Bowbridge, 4.5 years for trafficking ecstasy. Mate, like, do people even do that anymore?
Oh, it was a while ago. It was
in the 90s?
No, it was in the 2000s, I think. But a silver medalist, Jack Broadbridge, at number 3, Jack Broadbridge, 4.5 years for trafficking ecstasy. It's a tough one, isn't it? It's a bad beat. You're not making any money from cycling, so you got to make it somehow.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, what are you getting from cycling? You know,
if you're a silver medalist, what drug would you want to be called?
Something cool.
Yeah.
I think, something cool like
speed.
Because you're a cyclist. You want something associated with it. Yeah. I'd also like the idea of being caught for something that will get you over the limit, but isn't necessarily illegal. Like, because there's that rumor, that myth that if you eat a lot of cherry ripes, you could blow 0.05. Imagine getting done you could get done. So I met like a truckload of cherry ripes and you get pulled over and they're just like, why do you have so many cherry ripes? And they arrest you from just suspicious behavior, like concerning behavior.
So former MMA pro fighter Jeremy Dooley was pulled over today in a traffic stop. He had 14 cartons of
an
cherry ripe.
Obscene amount of cherry ripe.
Suspicious amount of cherry ripe in his car. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, what about you?
I like the cherry ripes thing. Yeah, but I don't know. It'd be something. We'll get to number 1 in a minute, but something like this would be pretty cool. Number 2, Jules, could have very easily been number 1.
I mean, it's surprising that he's not number 1 because he's synonymous, you would say.
When thinking about this, I was like, he's guaranteed to be number 1, but we'll find out when we get to number 1. But number 2, Ben Cousins,
Richmond Football Club champion, also played at West Coast.
All right, here's a rundown of just the highlights. 2006, he ditches his car. He sees a booze bus, ditches his car, goes for a swim across the Swan River. Do you remember this?
I do remember that. That is very funny.
Oh, does a swim in the Swan River, pops out. They find him. And he's like, no, I wasn't doing anything.
Just having a swim, mate.
Gets back to the club. They find out about it. I was just going for a swim. 2:00 in the morning. Love that. Do you want the next one, Dulls?
Yeah, he's caught in 2007 with cocaine and sacked by the Eagles.
That's right. Took a year out, then was recruited by Richmond. So that was the final straw, but there was a lot leading up to that. This is my favorite one. 2012. He's arrested at a WA airport. He's strip searched for erratic behavior, and he's found with meth up his ass.
Oof.
Not where you want to keep it, I don't think.
No, not at all. And he's just done some dumb things. He's been put into jail, drug offences, like not good with women. No. He also, when he was at Richmond, there was a big controversy. He shaved his head because they were doing hair sampling. It's like all of a sudden, I shaved my hair.
So he could have been number 1, but number 1 was just so outrageous.
Tell us about number 1.
Number 1, former Parramatta Eels Junior Polo and Kiki Kamuta. They were caught, and these weren't big players, so it was difficult to put them on. But this is why they were caught, pulled over with 2 pistols and $650,000 cash in their car, and then they were arrested and jailed for a foiled plot to buy 900 kilograms of cocaine worth about $180 million.
Their maths is not very good there because 650K is not 180 million.
It is not.
They're
I think
a
it was
little bit
down
off.
payment.
Yeah.
I mean, they're rugby players. It was always going to be NRL players that finished number 1 on this list, I think.
Sure. Yeah. I think a special mention to former swimmer Scott Miller as well. Convicted drug dealer. He was, I think, butterfly swimmer and was a silver and bronze medalist. Good swimmer back in the day and not a very good drug dealer.
No, none of these people were good drug dealers in the end. They all got caught.
No. Speaking of swimming, Aussie legends. Let's keep it in the pool here. Aussie legends. Let's go past the superfish himself, Mr. Kieran Perkins.
Oh, I like this one.
The distance king, known for his mental fortitude. Won heaps of gold medals. Obviously, like you felt for Daniel Kowalski. He was always winning silver. But everyone remembers Kieran Perkins. He was down. He was out. He came from nowhere. Grant Hackett was the new shiny thing, the king of the distance. Kieran Perkins was in a bad lane, and he just dominated that final to win the 1,500 meters. I think he's still involved in swimming. He's quite high up in administration, but the superfish, Mr. Kieran Perkins, he's probably had a Wheat Bix sponsorship at some point, or Sanitarium,
Definitely.
or Uncle Toby's, or one of them. But we love Kieran Perkins. You are the king. You are the Aussie legend for this week.
Love Kieran Perkins. Still remember that swim. Before we get into the power rankings, I forgot to put this on the list. Did you hear Athletics Australia have changed their name?
Okay. I mean, Athletics Australia is a pretty succinct name.
Yeah. I thought, and it's like Athletics
In Australia,
Australia.
for Australians.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty good. I didn't think it needed a change. If you were going to change the name of Athletics Australia, what would you change it to, Dools?
The obvious option is to just flip the words and call it Australian Athletics.
Well, you fucking knocked it out of the park. They changed their name to Australian Athletics.
Oh, some consultant got paid a lot of money for that.
Bank they made for that. That would have been a sick. And working, you've worked a bit with government before. I certainly have. The most inefficient people you'll ever meet. They're all fucking useless for the most part. I remember one time I did a job. It included a website, a 2.5 minute animation, print collateral, all this kind of stuff. They spent over 6 figures on the development of that. They spent 12 months. They did workshops with community groups, and they ran all this kind of stuff. Someone was on it. This was their full-time job for 12 months. So we probably, by the time you add everything up, we're talking $500,000, $750,000. The project, food safety at Sausage Sizzles. And the moral of it, probably at least $500,000 was wash your hands. And that's the type of people we're dealing with. But to your point, someone spent 6 months of research, focus groups, everything, and the best they came up with was, I'll just flip it around, yeah?
That is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Anyway, fucking hell.
All right, let's hit us with these power rankings.
Oh, power
What do you
rankings,
got
your
for me?
favorite time of the week. I think you're actually... You're not going to be pissed off enough this week, I think. 'Cause
Okay.
I try and piss you off, but I have made some changes. I'm not putting it down to you affecting me, but I have made some changes to this week's
Okay.
power rankings. So
I'm leaning back here in anticipation.
I love it. So this week's power rankings coming in at number 10. He's returned to the power rankings. It's Dyson Daniels, our Aussie of the week.
How is he number 10? We've just been pumping him up for like breaking records and
Most of the
all the
episode talking about
steals. He's been a huge part of this episode. You put him in at number 10.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. He's done something great. When he gets named Defensive Player of the Year, maybe he goes up to number 1. If they make the playoffs, he does something there, he'll move up. But you'll see as we get through that 10's a very fair spot for Dyson Daniels, because in number 9, Dools, number 9, you're going to love this. I've heard of him heaps. It's from the Socceroos, Jackson Irvine.
Oh, I had big love for Jacko.
There we go.
I think
2 goals against Thailand.
2 goals. He's the captain of a Bundesliga team. He looks a little bit like Jesus. As well, he's got long hair. He's got a mustache. He's like hipster Jesus. Should be the captain of the Socceroos. Big fan of Jackson Irvine.
There we go. So you did like that one.
Big fan.
Oh, good.
Big fan.
Who was the guy that we used to have? He was a striker and he did look like
Josh
Jesus.
Kennedy.
Josh Kennedy.
Yeah.
I love Josh Kennedy.
Big fan. Walks on water.
Hey, all right. In number 8, he's come tumbling down. But in number 8, it's Gout.
Wait. I'm worried now about who's left. If you're like, oh, he's come down, there's going to be okay. Yeah, I mean, look, Gout again. Like, I don't. How often do they do runs? I don't know.
I mean, he wasn't at the World Indoor Championships. He would have smashed the 60 meters.
They should have consulted him with the name change.
If Gout did the same thing, his name would still be Gout.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine married, her surname's Gonzalez. She married a dude, no relation, whose surname was Gonzalez, hyphenated surname.
Get the fuck out of here.
Gonzalez.
What was her first? Oh, you don't have to say her first name. But Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Why did
spelt
you get
the same? Everything's spelt exactly the same. They're from the same country ethnically. Gonzalez.
There you go. All right. In number 7 for his first appearance in the power rankings. Big weekend, big couple of weeks. At number 7, he's overdue. Nick Dacos.
39
disposals on the weekend. Collingwood are back. 2 wins in a row. He is probably the best player in the AFL, I think, after a big game like that. It was him or Jack McRae for me.
So I've got a Oakley Chargers hat on right now. Nick Dacos, the most professional junior athlete I've ever worked with.
There you go.
Amazing jawline too.
Makes sense. The way he came in and was great from game 1.
Very
We haven't seen
professional.
that since maybe Chris Judd.
Yeah, right from the button
Right
there.
from the jump.
He was, Nick Dacos was just so professional.
Yeah, love to hear that. You can tell it shows in his game. In number 6, I think you'll be happy she's moved down. At number 6 in the power rankings, it's Rhea Bloody Ripley.
Yep. Yep.
Still WrestleMania season.
Still the best thing to come out of Adelaide.
Still the best thing to come out of Adelaide. She has lost the championship. Her run into WrestleMania, it's turned into a triple threat. It feels a bit murky. She should be she should be in a big one-on-one match, but she'll win and she'll be top of the power rankings. In
The
a few
one
weeks.
thing that Rhea Ripley does, obviously she represents Australia, she represents South Australia and also Goths.
Yes,
So,
who are massively underrepresented in sport.
Exactly. There's not enough Goths in sport.
Yeah. I can't think of literally anyone else.
No.
To be fair, haven't met a lot of athletic Goths.
That's true, especially for outdoor sports.
Yeah.
Sun. Ugh.
Yeah. Maybe there was some at the World Indoor Athletics Championships in the 60 meters.
Yeah, no sun.
Number 5 in the power rankings. He's tumbled down. I've buckled under pressure from Dooley. At number 5, it's Alexander the Great Volkanovski.
Oh, finally. I love Volk. I do love Volk, but he hasn't done anything for a few weeks, for a few months, actually. So, his fight's a few weeks away. He might be able to do well, but the best thing I've seen about his fight is there was a meme going around where they swapped the hairstyles for him. And I tell you what, Volk with an emo haircut is a strong look.
I love it. All right, here we go. Your boy at number 4, the last time he'll ever be in this list. Number 4, it's Matthew Dellavedova.
Delhi. Look, Delhi, it was all class to give up that MVP trophy, but also, if you're the guy on the receiving end of that, you don't take that seriously. That's like when, Trent Cotchin got the Brownlow that year. Job Watson was geared out of the gills. It's like Job still played, and was still the best player that season. It's a hollow sort of win there.
Very hollow, like when Bob Murphy got the premiership medal and he didn't play. Very respectful by Luke Beveridge to give it to him. Made all the, but you can't accept it. It's just not the same.
Wasn't there.
Yeah. In number 3, it's my favorite, your favorite, Molly Picklum. Yes, she's come up. She's somehow got high. She's one of the only people that hasn't left the power rankings all season. I think it's literally just her and Rhea Ripley are the only 2 that have held up.
Well, let's try and get Molly Picklum on the show at some point.
Sure.
Let's try and make that. I don't know where she lives or where she's from, but we could get her to dial in or something.
Somewhere on the coast.
Yeah.
I imagine. She's in Portugal right now.
You'd imagine she'd be somewhere near the ocean?
Yeah, somewhere near the ocean. I think she might be a Gold Coast gal.
Okay.
We'll see. But anyway, we'll ask her about that when she comes and joins the Budgy Smugglers. All right, we're getting to the pointy end. At number 2, I mean, he's just had a game that no other player in the NBA has ever had in the history of the NBA. Ever. It's Josh Giddey at number 2 in the power rankings.
We love you, Josh. We love your hair.
You've been calling for this for a while, that he needs to be at the pointy end of this list. And I think when you produce a game that's never been produced before, you can't. It was very hard to leave him off number 1, to be honest with you.
I mean, you think about some of the players who have been in the NBA. You know, Taco Fall hasn't produced that sort of stat line. You know, Shaq hasn't done that.
George Machine.
Yeah. Then Muggsy hasn't done that as well, going down the other end there. Muggsy Bogues, you know, Damon Stoudemire. A lot of players have not produced that stat line. Our boy, Josh Giddey, has.
He did it, baby. All right, speaking about did it, I mean, it was always going to happen. Number 1 with an absolute bullet. Number 1 in the power rankings, it's Oscar Piastri. Yes.
That makes sense. I'll pay that. Well done.
I did call it from the first power rankings. I said he'd be number 1 in this list. He dropped out at one stage, but I think this is a huge weekend in one of the biggest global sports, completely dominated. I don't think anyone's had a bigger, more impressive week than our boy, Oscar Piastri.
Do you think, because of, you know, his surname, do you think he really enjoys or dislikes pastries? Because it's a similar sounding word to Piastri, a pastry. Oh, I have a Piastri or two. Like
he lives in Monaco. They speak French. I'd imagine there's a lot of pastries. Yeah. I forgot how to say it for a second.
Yeah, patisseries.
Patisseries would be tough. I think he'd like them more.
I can imagine him being like an almond croissant, but also like I only have half. I don't know why he speaks like that, but that's
he's from Brighton, so he went far off.
Brighton.
But these boys don't eat carbs. Yeah, that's the problem. But that's the top 10. I feel like you kind of agreed with that one.
That was your best work. I would say that's the best work that you've done. You know, you've really rebounded from your gigs this week, where you know your audiences haven't necessarily gotten into it. The audience will get into that.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to change it up to get you a little bit more fired up next week when we do this.
That was good. What do you have on this week? It's a big week for comedy.
Comedy festival, baby. So I'll just be at Goff's every night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'll be performing every night, 10 p.m. at the world famous 10 for 10 at 10 p.m. We get to see 10 comedians for $10 for around the comedy festival. You'll be there Saturday night? Friday night. You'll be there Friday night. So I'll be doing that. We've got a 2 minutes to kill on Thursday, which tickets moving for. 15 open micers basically doing 2 minutes each. It's absolute carnage with me, little Tommy Stanimiros and Red Ned Townsend. I think I'm popping in on some other shows as well throughout the week. But if you just follow at Stephen Bradshaw Comedy, I'll be on stage probably 10 or 12 times this week.
Great. Very nice. I'm doing a few different things this week. I'm doing Co-Conspirators Brewery on Thursday night. So it's just a lineup show I'm hosting. That's just in Brunswick. It's a good gig. You know, when they asked if I could do it during the comedy festival, this was my only Thursday that was free. So I'm hosting that, kicking off that run. They're doing that every Thursday throughout the comedy festival with a hot lineup, a very good lineups each week, all pro acts. It's going to be great. And then my show, Daddy Cool, opens on Friday night at the Collection Bar in Richmond. 7:30 p.m. except on Sundays. It's a 6:30 show. That's great. Tickets are flying out the door. Opening night's sold out. Bunch of nights, especially in the first half of festival, are pretty full. There's still a few nights where you can grab tickets. Second half of the festival, there's plenty of tickets available. And then, dropping in at 10 for 10 at 10 for 10 on Friday night, and I'm sure I'll be popping in a few other places there. But JeremyDooleyOfficial.com for tickets to things, or socials, Jeremy Dooley Official. But that's the comedy festival. It's going to be an intense month for both of us. Heaps of gigs, heaps of comedians in town. Make sure you go and see some live comedy and watch me have a meltdown from lack of sleep at some point.
I love it. Before we wrap up, I mean, last year you were great. You gave me a bunch of advice going into my first comedy festival around food, sleep, not going too hard. Didn't listen to any of it. But I did. It was very helpful. You're going in. Has anyone given you any advice about going in with a little 3-4 week? 3-4 week older Zep?
No one has. What people have generally said is when I said, child is due just before a comedy festival, and then I'm doing a full run, is people with kids have gone, ooh. So
more
who knows?
Than advice.
It's more fear, I think, from other people about what's going to happen. I think the big thing is, again, it's just pacing yourself. Comedy is my job, so this is really the only commitment I have during the day is this podcast. So I'm just going to try and take it easy, get my naps in there, try and be as present as I can when I am at home, and then get on stage and kill
it. Well, I'm sure you do that. I saw it last night. I've been watching it develop over the year. It's going to be a great show. Get down there, check that out. If you're listening, you're not too sure what to see, come see 10 for 10 at 10:10. Come on Friday night. Me and Dools will be there. And I believe that is it for the Budgy Smugglers.
Yeah, give us a follow on the socials.
Follow, comment, like, 5-star reviews, all that kind of stuff helps. Thank you very much. That's it. Catch us later.
See you next week.
Bye.